everybody. Welcome back to I2I, the place where we talk about anything and everything Disney. My name is Kyle.
And my name is Jessica. And before we get started tonight, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to our channel and turning on that notification bell so you don't miss any of our content.
It's time for us to discuss that movie. We are discussing Avatar 2, The Way of Water. We have already done our spoiler-free video. You should go check that out, where we grade the video on some different elements and things like that. We pretty much saw it eye to eye, I think, in the grading elements of everything.
I mean, not everything.
Well, that's fair.
We were similar. We had just different scores, so no.
You degraded the visuals of this just a little bit. Which
I didn't degrade it. I gave it like an 85%.
That's fair. That's fair. You did give it a good grade. I still continue to be amazed how much Jessica liked this movie. When we walked out of the theater, I was like expecting her to be, because she's not the biggest sci-fi fan.
Not a big sci-fi fan, nor am I a big 3-hour and 18-minute movie fan. Longer than Titanic, but it was good.
Listen, I would prefer it not be 3 hours either, but...
And 18 minutes.
And, excuse me, forget the 18 minutes, but you have to admit that it did keep you entertained for the most part.
It
and
did.
Kept you engaged, because...
It certainly did, thank goodness.
I was shocked. I expected her to be like on the side.
Honestly, if we had watched this at home, like this would take us 6 nights. Yeah. Because I'd be like, 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there.
Technically, it would take us 7 nights with the 18 minutes. Can't forget the 18 minutes we got to focus on.
Those were rough.
With that being said, we are now just going to discuss it openly, freely. So there are spoilers beyond this point. You have been warned. 3, 2, 1. First thing I want to talk about, the minute I saw that Neytiri and Jake had 5 kids, one of them's going to die. I'm gonna come right out there and say that. Like,
you seriously knew that?
I had no inclination. Listen, what? I usually stay up to date on things that are happening, like with movie development and stuff, and so sometimes things kind of get spoiled for me. I really didn't stay up to date with this one, but the minute I was like, oh, okay, even though there are 3 biological kids, 2 adopted, one of them's gonna die. It was really just a guessing game for me. I was like, who is it gonna be?
And technically, are you saying that Spider's one of their kids?
I am counting that.
Okay, so I didn't count Spider as one of their
children.
All right,
just for the viewers, just so they know who we know we're talking about. You got Neteyam, the oldest, Loak, the the second oldest boy. You've got help me, girl.
Dude, you've already lost
Tuk,
me.
Which is their biological daughter. Kiri, who is the or Kira, I guess is technically her name.
Oh, it's Kiri.
I think it's spelled Kira, but it was spelled...
No, it's Kiri, according to Wikipedia.
Kiri.
Which the whole time I thought her name was Kitty.
The adopted daughter, and then you got Spider, who is the human adopted. So I consider him their family. Do you not?
No, because like he didn't live with them or anything.
But he was basically raised with them. To me,
he was like a cousin.
So can I use a Disney reference for you?
Go for it.
I think this will land with you.
You're gonna call Tarzan.
Boy Meets World. Sean Hunter.
He's not a Matthews.
But if you, spoiler alert for the Boy Meets World show, but they even try to adopt him at one point. Like,
no, they don't. They let him live there. That's not the same as adopting.
At the end of the series, remember Mr. Matthews said, would you like? I'd like to adopt you, and he said, no, I'd like to keep my family name. It's kind of the same situation where he basically was their adopted child.
I mean, I guess this is just one of those things we're not going to see eye to eye on.
So you guys can tell us whether you think he was officially an adopted child of them. So anyway, I'm saying the 5 children.
I'm saying 4.
And Spider. Okay, we'll just say Spider's there off to the side. Poor kid. Nobody wants him. His dad doesn't want him.
That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying.
So yes, I called it. One of them was going to die.
So I did not, obviously, because I'm just not up on, like, Kyle is at least up on these movies and kind of knows like where plot lines are going and stuff. Yeah. I was completely shocked when the son died.
Yeah, I didn't know which one was going to happen, but as the movie started progressing, the way they focused in on Loak, like the second oldest child, with his story with I'm going to butcher that name, the whale creature, and him being kind of that outcast of his family, the new clan. Yeah. Everywhere he went, he was an outcast. And it was kind of like, well, they haven't...
So that's why they killed him off?
No. Loak's the one they didn't kill off. That's what I'm saying. He's the one that they are trying to tell a arcing story for. Does that make sense?
Because his brother dies and then,
And Neteyam was kind of always the same throughout. He was the oldest child of duty. He understood his responsibilities. Right. He would openly accept criticism from his father and just say, I'll do better next time, and all that kind of. He was your typical oldest child, I guess, if that's how you want to.
Maybe for like movies. I'll be honest though, this is gonna sound really cold and callous.
Oh boy.
the movie needed something big to happen, something big and emotional to happen. Because, and I'm not saying somebody had to die, and certainly not a child, but we kept going back like fighting, not fighting, fighting, not fighting.
There was it was from one big set piece to another, which is a James Cameron movie.
And I totally respect that and get it, and like I liked both the first Avatar and the second, but there wasn't like this, you know, like the bad guy, he'd just like get a scratch on his face and be like, oh yeah, I'm up again, or like he'd hurt his leg, and then 2 scenes later he's like back to fighting full force again, and the children would get captured, but then somebody would rescue them.
There's a lot of children capturing in this.
And yeah, and it'd be like, they're captured, and now they're free. They're captured, they're free. They're captured, they're free. Oh, now one's dead. So it was just like, well, that's different.
At some point, the odds are not in your favor. Like, if you get captured so many times, one of you is going to die.
Well, and that's why I thought it was going to be Jake the whole time that was going to die. I completely forgot when we were in the movie.
Yeah.
I forgot that they're making 5 movies.
There you go. Well, but they don't have to necessarily have the one of those main characters to tell 5 if they can like pass it on to someone else.
And I really, honestly, there was a moment when I thought he needs to sacrifice himself for the good of his family too. Right. Because if he had just sacrificed himself, his kids would still be alive.
Well, and so think about it. So that's, you know, I mean, we'll come back to all this kind of stuff throughout our discussion here, but like the story of this was Jake not neglecting his responsibility, but running from the fight, so to speak. And think about it. You've spent, you know, a life as a military guy, as a human, fighting. You fought when you got here and all that kind of stuff. And so now he's trying to protect. He's now got a normal life that's kind of falling apart because the humans are back.
Yep.
And he's fighting to protect that the entire time. But his own running is ultimately what resulted in the deaths of his children anyway. So now it's like, I might as well fight at this point. It's that fight or flight response.
But it also felt kind of like half fighting. Like there were a couple scenes and I was like, you could have taken him out 12 times, and it was just like this like emotional pull of, well, he's still a human and like I still care about him on a human level, or that's Spider's dad, so I can't kill him, when in reality, they all should have killed him.
But didn't you love the moment in the last fight where, you know, he said, or Quaritch is yelling at him and says, I will come for you and I will kill your family. And he said, well, let's dance, or some version of that. And like, that was like him finally saying, I can't run from this anymore. I've got to take this guy down. And he tried to kill him. He did. And he would have died had Miles or Spider not gone and saved his father. Because it's not his, it is his father, but it's not at the same time.
Right. That was such weird.
Poor kid.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Your dad, you know, your dad's legacy and bad side. His essence is still alive in this new Avatar, which technically makes him his father, just not the same species. And you don't feel connected with them, your Na'vi family. You don't feel connected with him. You're trying to build that connection throughout the movie. That was a little weird to me. I'm going to be honest.
It was super weird, and it definitely felt like Mowgli from the Jungle Book. Like they just like pulled that out.
I am so glad you didn't like mention that me in the theaters, because I would never have been like, this is Jungle Book.
It 100% was, isn't it? Like the way he kind of walks like the Na'vi, the way, I mean, obviously he was feral. Yeah. I was just like, okay, we're just stealing from another movie again.
Well, but listen, at this point, all movies are basically iterations of each other.
I mean, I guess. I don't know. The more I think about this movie, the more like holes that there were for me in it.
Yeah, in a 3-hour and 18-minute movie.
I think that's it too, that's the problem. The longer the movie gets, kind of the more room for error there becomes, with the exception of things like Endgame.
Right. So that was the thing for me, like when we talked about our grading for this movie, was the fact that there was almost not enough substance to fill that time. Like Avatar 1, the first one, it just kept going. I was like, all right, there's something new, there's something new, there's something new. This one kind of felt like you said, we went back, the kids are captured again. All that kind of stuff. But to me, I kind of forgive that, because this took 10 years in the making to try to get right, to get ready, to set up the next sequels. I feel like 3 is going to be more in line with like 1 felt like. Does that make sense?
And I hope, because I'll be honest, there was a moment where The Way of Water felt very similar to the first one. Like,
really?
Same villain.
Yeah, I mean,
same goal. Take Jake back.
Well, the goal wasn't in the one take Jake back. It was destroy the Na'vi and destroy them. Like,
okay, yes, but similar goal, right?
Ish, yes. Maybe
I think having
more
the
focused
same
goal this time.
And maybe that's it. I think because we're so like Marvel heavy, like in this realm.
Right.
To me, I'm so used to movies where even in the same group, like the Spider-Mans or the Ant-Mans or some things, you know, like you have a different villain every single movie.
I got you.
And here, but I don't know, because then now that I think about it, Darth Vader's in Star Wars multiple times.
Yeah.
But there was a different goal.
I'm glad that you brought up that it's the same villain, because when I found that out, the first part was like, the first time I heard that, I was like, okay, how's that going to work? He's dead.
Right.
He's got 2 holes through his chest.
Right.
But at the same time, I kind of like in this world, it makes sense that with all this technology, if they can create, you know, synthetic bodies.
But if that's the case, why is, what's her name? Jackie Grace? What's her name?
Jackie.
Why is she still dead?
I'm sorry, Grace. We are big Disney World fans. That version, or they have a future version of that type of character. Her name's Jackie Ogden. Grace,
that's right.
Whatever her name is.
It starts with an O too. But anyway, so if that's the case, why is Grace still dead?
Because
there's plot hole.
No, there's not a plot hole. Though. We're not going to get into the explaining that time. But here, okay, let me talk about Quaritch for a second.
Who?
Quaritch is the villain.
Yeah, the villain.
New Quaritch, Blue Quaritch. He, to me, when I heard he was going to be back, first I was intrigued, then I was like, oh, we did that already. But now that I've seen him take a whole movie, being still the villain, but that slight amount of conflict where he's embracing being a Na'vi for bad reasons.
Yes.
But he's trying to get the language down. He's trying to understand. He goes through the rite of passage of taking on an Ikron.
That's true. Which was kind of actually funny to watch.
It was kind of cool too. Like just to see that again flipped, but the other side. So Jake went through that, and now he's going through that just in a different way. And then in his last moment, he shows compassion for his non-son, who a second ago he had just claimed or disowned.
Right.
For reasons to not lose in that battle. But I like where they're going with this guy, because the biggest villain is not necessarily one guy. And I think that's the whole point of this movie. Right.
It's the holistic group. It's the humans.
Right. The biggest problem is the humans, not Quaritch. The problem wasn't Jake. The problem for the humans in the first movie was them. So this movie became about like focusing in on their conflict, I think. And now it's going to
go broader.
It's going to go back out. Because this was about that, and then focusing on the water. The way we haven't even talked about the water. How would you think about the water? I keep doing this a lot.
It was interesting. I did like that there was like a whole different tribe. I liked seeing that all the Na'vi are not the same. Like that they
was cool.
Yeah, I like that they had
broad arms and
they had like
broad tails.
What's the word I'm looking for?
Flippers?
Evolved.
Okay.
Evolved into their like surroundings and everything. So I really liked that.
The turquoise-like skin as opposed to sky blue skin.
Yeah. So I mean, there are a lot of things that I liked. I liked all the different animals. Are those called animals? I don't know. But I liked seeing all that. It just, I don't know. Was it necessary? I don't know.
Well, I think what else are you going to do besides go to the water? The water's the biggest.
That's true, because we were already in the air.
Well, the jungle and the air. So like people were making the joke now. Well, now we got to go to the polar regions. Now we got to go to the desert. Now we
the Na'vi can live there?
It's the planet of Pandora.
But they're like naked.
They're no more naked than Mowgli was naked. They got loincloths on and stuff.
Yeah, but he lived in the jungle. He didn't live in the polar Arctic.
Well, that's why it was a joke. And maybe it's going to be serious, like they're saying. That's the next places we're going to go with them. I mean, I don't know.
I thought we just go back to the trees and stuff.
We're going to leave the water, go back to the trees. It sounds like from the end of the movie, after they bury Neteyam, and, you know, they're trying, he says, we'll leave you guys. We brought you nothing but trouble. But he says, stay with us. And he says, this is our home now. So it sounds like we're staying.
I mean, that's what I got.
Yeah.
But also, wouldn't that be difficult? Like, I would just think, if that's not your natural habitat.
Yeah.
And all of your now tribe mates have the extra things.
Right.
I don't know what to call them. And you know what I mean? Like, it would be challenging to survive in an atmosphere like that when you were the weakest link automatically. And you were bringing in the villain.
And I think at this point now the damage is done, though, right?
Yeah, like you have to move on.
No, I don't. My point was the damage is done now. Now it's about, you know, finding a way to go together. And I think
the damage is done. Goodbye.
Well, if you sound like Renal, who is the chief's wife,
yes,
in that, who's played like, did you know it was Kate Winslet?
I didn't, but now that you say it, like,
could you see
voice makes perfect sense.
I did not see, because they use facial recognition stuff for, obviously, because you could see Sam Worthington and Jake, and all that kind of stuff. Like, I couldn't see it in her.
But I hear it.
I didn't hear it.
Oh, I definitely hear it. Go back. You'll have to go back and, like, YouTube a clip or something.
Like, yeah, like, to me, I knew she was in this, and I had it confused. I thought she was going to be the young girl, the daughter of the chief.
Okay.
Who was Loak. And I was like, that's kind of odd. I mean, you know, like that dynamic of and not, it's all motion capture, doesn't matter, but I didn't pick up on that. The other thing, just talking about characters, actors in this, you had Sigourney Weaver come back as herself in this, as not Jackie, I almost did it too, Jackie Ogden, as help me, Grace. But she also voiced her daughter in this, and it was really weird to think that maybe it's, you know, listen, can be a controversial subject, but that's definitely where they're going with this. Almost kind of like,
that's true, like that's a way to keep her.
It's kind of like that virgin birth thing, because the whole theory about like, where did she come from?
Yeah.
How did the Avatar?
That's true.
Get pregnant, and you know.
Well, so Kyle, let's talk about when a man.
We're not. This is a family show, but I'm just saying, there's, you know, theories, rumors, speculation.
I don't want to know.
So obviously she has a connection with the water, which is really weird, as being a, you know, hybrid in it, because, you know, they've all got 4 fingers.
Right, which is weird.
I thought that was...
So I thought that was standard, and then when they pointed that out in this movie, I was like, 1, 2,
I did that
3.
too.
Like, hold on.
Did anybody else in the theater like pick their hand up and start counting their fingers?
No, nobody else did.
I was like, wait a minute, we have 4 fingers.
Well, and then I started like looking at the suits, like what are like, and then realizing they like, you know, it was the 2 middle ones that are like mushed together.
2 middle ones that are mushed together? Like,
yeah, so like they'd have like 2 skinny fingers and then a big fat finger.
I never noticed that. I'll have to go back and look at that.
Well, I was having to watch because I was like, how are we doing this? Also, 3-hour movie, so there were a lot of time.
There was a lot of time to notice things. So that's really the main thing about this. And so you're going to have pros and cons for a movie of this length and of this magnitude, but it does give you time to focus in on something and like, you know,
and like learn the details.
Learn the details of it and really dive into characters. Like, but here, I haven't talked about this yet. Neytiri got the shaft in this. As I said, I was going to mention this in our spoiler-free, our grade that movie session. Neytiri, the mom, she was hardly in this movie. She would literally go fly around and come in screaming.
That's actually very accurate.
And
I have big emotional scenes.
It had big, like that was it. There was no like, well, there were some. I mean, if we had like compacted this movie, her scenes like would have been minimalistic, I think.
But I think because it really wasn't about her, right?
It really wasn't.
It was about Jake.
Jake and his sons.
And his issues. So, and I think
we got issues.
Yeah, she got them too. I think the bigger thing was she was kind of the voice of reason.
Right.
And if you'd had too much of her in this, her saying, Jake, we can't stay here. Jake, we're putting these, you know, these water Na'vi at risk, whatever their names are. Like,
yeah, we're gonna butcher their names.
She was too rational.
Right. The other, I think she should have been there just a tad bit more if I'm going to have like a nitpick there. And can we just talk about how savage she was? She was willing to kill Spider pretty much.
I mean, to protect your own family, like.
But again, this back to this debate we started with.
I know that he's basically their nephew, their
family.
I totally get that, but he is human. And so it's kind of like if Kyle, think about it. The people who like raise primates in their homes, like humans.
Where are we going with this?
If your primate turns on you and you've raised that little monkey, that cute little orange monkey, whatever that thing's called, the little golden tamarins.
Okay.
And you raised it from the time it was a baby and you love that thing.
So you're equating him to a pet?
Yes.
He's a human though.
He is. But he is not your same species. So you've raised him. But all of a sudden he turns on you.
That's tough.
You're going to go to your own instinct of protect my own.
Wow,
and he is different.
Wow, that's deep and tough.
But is it not wrong? I mean, because like I said, think about all the people who have primates as pets. Like, and then they try to attack them. What does the human have to do? The human has to kill the primate that's in their home.
I'm kind of shocked.
Why?
No, not in a bad way. I'm just like, that's a good little conundrum that you just threw out right there that I'm kind of like stuck on now. Like, That's not a bad way to think of it. Okay,
Yeah.
well, while I get my mind wrapped around it, last thing I want to bring up, I want to talk about heartfelt scenes. Obviously, the death.
I
the
don't
timeline.
even want to talk about that.
But
When the mom screamed, I
That.
think every female in that theater felt that pain.
But also, the sadness was talking about the good
Mm.
emotion. This whole story was about Loak having trouble fitting in with everybody, especially his
Yes.
family and his dad. And
And then
his
all of a
dad in that
sudden-
moment, I see you.
Yes.
And you know, that means more to them than that.
Yes.
And I was like,
yeah,
that
that was.
right there. That's what, after that sad moment, all this drama and action.
Yep.
That little moment of there, I see you for
Yep.
who you are
Yeah.
and what value you
Yeah.
bring.
I see your heart.
All look at you just bringing it all around, man. She's just brought us like things to think
I
about,
told you I did actually like this movie a
the
lot.
feels, and I love that she actually loved this movie. We want to know from you now what you
I was
thought.
just gonna end it on a high note.
Listen, we got to at some point because if I keep talking about that conundrum you gave me a little while ago, I'm just gonna like have my brain fried. We want to know from you in the comment section what you thought about the movie. Obviously, you can talk about spoilers because sorry,
We already have.
we already have in this thing. So.
And we've thrown a lot of opinions out, so
Hey.
here we are.
Things and opinions. What else should they do on the way out?
Like I said before, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to our channel and turning on that notification bell so you don't miss any of our content.
And that's all we have for you in this edition of Eye to Eye. Until we assemble again,
May the force be with you.
and we'll see you real soon.
Bye, guys.